magic.
Mic check. 1 2 1 2.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. And
Hello.
we want to make it like welcoming for like a good conversation and warm. It's kind of chilly, but that's because we have no power.
At least it's sunny out.
Yes, if it was a cloudy day, we'd really be fucked.
Yeah.
We'd already have like 800 more candles.
I also love the star curtains. That's fun.
Thanks. Yeah. Try to make it my... I don't think I've had that, like, those blinds open since I moved in. Because anyone that walks by can just,
Right. See
right in.
And that's weird. Yeah.
I forget all the time on my patio. And, like, I'll walk out in, like, my underwear. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I live next door to a school, so the kids walk by. I'm always like, there's got to be some kid that has seen me naked.
I mostly realize that the blinds aren't down when it's, like, I look out the window into the landlord's house, and I'm like, oh. Hold on.
Let me close this curtain.
But not recently, because it's been too cold.
Oh.
I will, like, run from the bathroom to the bedroom or something. Yeah.
Are you a, these are naked sleeper? Or are you full pajamas?
I like a shorts and a long sleeve shirt most of the time.
Yeah.
Like my arms to be out.
Of the covers? But covered.
Or at least warm enough that they could be.
I get that. I'm like just an underwear sleeper.
Yeah.
I used to be tank tops, but then I'd wake up and like one boob would be out. And then like you'd wake up strangled and I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, my boobs don't strangle me.
No, you're very petite. But you have a great ass. You're actually in my phone as the crazy great person with, what is it? Hot lady with a great ass.
I do what I can.
You do. Well, welcome, Hannah with a great ass, to Ducking Reality.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm excited to have you here. And I was so excited to talk to you about like school and your job. And then I was like, oh, but also she grew up in a cult. And so like, how do I start? Where do I start?
Yeah. There's a lot.
There is. So tell us a little bit about you, where you're from. I mean, it's funny to me that, just as an aside, that you grew up in, well, I'm going to let you tell us where you grew up.
Excellent. Okay. So I kind of grew up all over the Midwest. I was born in Michigan, mostly lived in different places in Illinois, South Dakota for a little bit. The town that my family's in currently and where I went to high school is called Normal, Illinois. I left and went to Spokane, Washington for college, and ended up being there for about 7 years before I moved here to start working on my doctorate. I work at UC Berkeley, at the School of Business there. Pretty nerdy into higher ed. What else about me do you know?
Well, I
have 11 siblings.
It's a lot of siblings.
Yeah. Feel like I have a lot of stories that just kind of seem crazy.
Yep.
I love stories. That's actually something. I love especially reading memoirs. One of my goals is to read a memoir from every country in the world. So I have one of those. I think it's like probably a travel map thing that you scratch off, but I have it for books.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And a great way to use one of those maps if you're like, can't afford to travel.
Right. And I love that when you're reading a memoir, you can't quite disagree with the way that someone is saying they experienced it or their thoughts or whatever. So, and also it has made me way more interested in history. Like I'll read something and I'll be like, oh, I think probably they taught me that in school and I did not think it was important. But now that it's impacting somebody's life,
right,
I would like to learn more about this Russian Revolution or whatever. So, yeah.
That's a great way into like getting someone into history too, is if you give them a good memoir, it will like something in that will pique their interest and get them to learn. That's a really, I mean, you're into education, so
Yeah, I actually, for a class I was in once, made a whole syllabus on refugees, immigration, and migration based off of memoirs, and reading different narratives.
Do you have a favorite memoir so far in the ones that you've read?
Probably my favorite is Tara Westover's Educated, mostly because it feels to me like almost like a more dramatic version of my story. Like she grew up in a religious family, and that more culty than mine. Like they didn't believe in the government, and at one point just no longer believed in education, and she just dealt with a lot of stuff and ended up getting her doctorate from Cambridge. And also she, like, one of the themes throughout it is that education can change the way you understand your life, and can open up like a reality that you might have never known if you stayed in your cult-like family.
Right.
So I like that one. I feel like it's a little mean to like so many other memoirs.
Right. Oh yeah. I hate picking anything favorite, because then I feel like I'm like saying the other ones aren't good enough.
Yeah.
Like someone's like, oh, what's your favorite food? I'm like, I don't know, because all my other foods would be sad.
Yeah. I also feel like if I started a list though, I'd go home later and be like,
I forgot
that one. Damn.
Yeah. And then you're thinking about that for the rest of the day, all the ones that you forgot to put on the list.
Yeah. As if, you know, famous authors are going to be listening to this and like, oh,
maybe they will.
Hannah didn't read this one.
You don't know that they're not. I don't know that they're not. They're probably not.
I hope not.
I mean, eventually, maybe.
No, that sounded too deprecating.
A little bit. That's all right. I'm good at self-deprecation. That is one of my superpowers. I'm working on it. So your cult is more of a religious cult, because I have now met a few people. This is a weird thing to say, but this is the Bay, so you meet so many interesting people. I've met people now that say like, oh, I was in a cult, and I'm like, oh, what kind of cult were you? And they're like Southern Baptist or, you know, Catholic, and I'm like, well, that's religion, but I guess it is a cult too. I mean, some of them are a little bit more culty than others, but then I've met a couple people that were in like actual like culty cults, which
like drink the Kool-Aid cults. Yeah.
And that is wild to me.
Yeah. So I am more the Baptist route. So we grew up Baptist. Just very Baptist. I was actually talking to my mom about this recently, about my brother, when he got married a couple of years ago, married an Italian woman, and they wanted to have alcohol at their wedding reception. And my dad continued to tell us that it was stressing him out so much he was going to have a heart attack and end up in the hospital.
Oh.
So that kind of stress.
Yeah. And your dad is a minister, correct?
Yeah. So growing up, he was a youth pastor for a good chunk of my life. And then he worked for a parachurch ministry. So an organization that worked with like junior hires and high schoolers, but existed outside of a specific church. He currently is very high up in Moody Bible Institute, which is one of the bigger Protestant evangelical colleges and seminaries. So he doesn't currently preach like at a church, but he does a whole bunch of curriculum and is in charge of like the faculty and such there.
Are you still close to all of your family?
Kind
11
of.
siblings is a lot. So
yeah,
and my dad is one of 13, so I can kind of have an understanding of what those dynamics can sometimes be like.
Yeah. So my I'm the second oldest, but the oldest girl. And the way that we grew up, that means I was like kind of second mom. I am closer with some of my siblings than others. Of my 11 siblings, trying to do math here, 7 of them, I think, are adopted. My parents adopted a bunch of kids through the foster care system. So I am not as close to them primarily because of the age difference.
Right.
And a couple of them, like actually my newest brother, my parents adopted it because my mom's like best friend died of COVID.
Oh, God.
And so they had been living with my family. And so they now have adopted, taken guardianship over. And I've met him like once. So sometimes I forget when I'm trying to name all of my siblings. And there's like another couple that were adopted after I had moved away for college. So, and most of them have a variety of special needs. And that makes it's not always easy for them to do connection and relationship long distance. I'm pretty close with my sister, my younger sister, and one of my brothers. And I try to have a consistent relationship with my parents, which has been more and more difficult over the last several years, as I have decided to be my own person, and not assume the reality that they believe in is like rules for what I need to believe in. I actually am very proud of this. I went to Wally's on Thursday and just told everyone, look at how great I am. Because I told my mom it'd be best if Dad didn't come to my graduation in May. We're just both going to be disappointed.
Oh.
And I know he loves me and I love him, and it's going to be easier to maintain said relationship.
Yeah. But that must be incredibly difficult. Like, it must have been incredibly difficult, one, to break out of when you're raised in certain beliefs, especially like beliefs that are so kind of ingrained, like your dad was stressed out about your brother having alcohol at his wedding, like stuff like that, where it's like, if you do this, you're going to hell.
Right.
You know, like there's no there's no in between. There's no, like, it's black and white for him.
Right.
That like these things lead to this, and that's detrimental to your life.
Yeah. So for them, it's not just a disappointed in life choices. It's I think that what you're doing is incredibly harmful to you now, could send you to eternal damnation, and also whoever you're interacting with. Like you could be spreading the truth, but instead you're choosing a life of sin. Yeah, so it would genuinely break their hearts if they knew me all the way. But also, it's how they were raised. My mom was 19, my dad was 21 when they got married. They had my brother 2 years later, then me 2 years after that, and then another kid 2 years later, and then another kid 2 years later. And when I think about my growth and development and becoming my own person, it was after I turned 19. Like a lot of that happened through my 20s, in a way that if I had 5 kids, I wouldn't have had the time and space to do.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen how, like, so I was married, I got divorced. My parents handled that in, like, not incredibly well, but so much better than I thought.
How old were you when you got married?
19.
Because that's very much like the Midwest kind of
Yeah.
trope.
Yep. Most of my siblings who are married were also married very young. And I think that the oldest age would have been like 23.
Wow.
My oldest brother, who is a missionary in Spain with his wife and 3 kids. So they have 3 kids. My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, has 2 kids. My brother, who's 4 years younger than me, has 2 kids. That's just kind of like what you do.
Right.
Also, because you don't have sex before you get married, and how long are you supposed to wait? But yeah, I was married for 7 years, and it was
That's
actually
a long time.
Yeah, I have actually gotten to that point where I am now able to say, oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
It did not end the way I thought it would, but we got through some things that were really hard. And kind of the last couple of years, we were both at the same time going through this kind of crisis of faith where started questioning the things that not only we assumed to be true, but like had no capacity of believing anything else.
Right.
And when those fractures started, like that was the basis for everything. And when the entire way you understand the world starts shattering beneath your feet, it can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and it's hard to I've had those moments where my whole world was kind of cracked and I'm like, this is not what I thought it was. And
Yeah.
and it's soul shaking. Like
Yeah.
that's the only way I can describe it, is like it really like you're like, which way is up? How did I believe this? How did I not see that? How did you know, and then you can't help but kind of go back through your life on that and like look at those moments and wonder. And you can get lost in that. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
How did you not get lost in that?
Well, I did. for some time I did. Let me think. How did I? So I really didn't want it to happen. Like I was pretty convinced that I could force belief. Like if I just waited long enough, it would work out. I also, at the time, was finishing my bachelor's degree, newly married, trying to get pregnant and going through infertility. And my husband at the time was also kind of going through a career change. And so it was like, everything kind of started to shatter, which in some ways might have been beneficial in that it was like you started to pull the thread and the whole thing unraveled. And so I had to like just kind of start over and figure out what felt solid again. And learned that because someone else said it's true is not actually enough for me to put my weight on, I guess. I guess the way that I probably made it through is at the time I had a good set of friends. I had this group of friends that were also all a couple years ahead of me on a similar journey. They had grown up in a similar background. They had dealt with similar traumas and abuses. And that was really helpful because it really helped me not feel crazy, I think. And it helped me think that it was possible to make it out the other side. It's kind of hard to like remember exactly now because like some of those years were so hard and rough that I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird how your body does that, isn't it? That like there is times that like I can't remember my old life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of me is like, maybe it's because I don't want to. Maybe it's because like what's there to take from those memories, Like
Right.
part of it's I've healed from it. Part of it's like there's things that I don't feel like I need to touch.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes my something will happen and it's like my body kind of remembers. And what has been actually really great for me recently, like over the last couple of years, is the thought that I like to think like, oh, poor younger Hannah, like I hear you. That's hard. And like if I could go say anything to you, it would just be, it's going to continue to be hard for a while, and you're just going to get through it because that's basically your only option.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is too dark to say on a podcast, but I didn't have a reliable enough way to end my life, so the only other option was to continue my life. So I just had to.
I think it's an honest thing. And it's like, I kind of get that feeling too. Because there was times when I was in, my own shit that I was like, I could never kill myself. But if I hit that wall driving down this highway when it's raining, like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, then I wouldn't have done it. Like I guess it's like suicidal ideation. Like I didn't want to kill myself, but I was like, it'd be better if I was dead. Yeah.
Less of I want to kill myself and more of I just don't want to be alive anymore. Yeah. I would just like to quit living. Yeah. Oh, also probably part of why I got through it is I was put on antidepressants.
Oh, they can help a lot.
That was helpful. Yeah. Very convinced that it was temporary. Turns out,
not so much.
It's just better if I'm on them.
Well, I think there's no shame in that. Like if there's something that your body doesn't produce the right way or it doesn't, and you can't balance it with like exercise and food, like then you take the drugs. Like,
yeah,
it's just like if you have a heart problem, like you do all the diet and exercise. And if that doesn't help, then you take the drugs.
Yeah. And for me, an important realization was not thinking like I have to take these drugs. Like for a while, I think that taking them made me feel like I wasn't myself. I had to like use substance to be someone else. And at some point I was able to make the switch to think like taking antidepressants actually allows me to be myself, because otherwise my whole brain and body goes to a place that's just not sustainable. And that's not me. Right. It's not who I want to be. There's just nothing great about it. And yeah, it allows me to be a better version of myself, and not have to spend all of my mental and emotional energy on trying to, not just lay on the floor and cry all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get that. I can hear all the kids in my neighborhood. Do you think it's like your education, or do you know what caused your fissures to start? Like those cracks in that foundation of what you grew up in? Was it like being away at school? Was there other things that kind of gave you some hints to it?
I do think moving away from my family was a big thing. The college I was going to was a Bible university, so a lot of them had very similar thoughts. I am pretty good at like logic, and I just started to notice some logical fallacies or things that I thought, and then I would ask the question, and then the answer wouldn't be sustainable or satisfactory. And then I think part of it was honestly like infertility and other hard things in my life where it kind of made me go more to the core of me, I guess. Like when things get hard and you can't do all of the extra stuff, interacting with people. And I tried genuinely for so long, my hardest, to just figure it out. And like, I wanted to believe, and like, it was probably like a 4-year process, where it started with this is what you're saying, this is what you're doing, and that doesn't line up. But maybe that's just like this branch or these people. So maybe I just need to find the right spot for me. And it just continued not happening. And I think for me, one of the, like, kind of the final nail in the coffin was the 2016 election, actually.
Oh, really?
When so many people that I had, like, so believed in were saying shit that just, like, you cannot believe that and also say you believe the stuff in the Bible. Like, it's not compatible. At the time I was working with refugees in Spokane, and just, it was some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. And the rhetoric around refugees, I couldn't make excuses on behalf of the churches that I had been a part of or people that I knew anymore. Like, I had tried so hard to make excuses on so many things. And then for me, just the blatant, like, we're saying this and we are doing the opposite. I just couldn't justify it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of sounds mean, but I feel like I really love people. And at least in the churches that I grew up in, they also said that.
Right.
But they didn't act like it. And I couldn't be a part of it, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, you can't raise someone to be like, love thy neighbor. Oh, unless it's that one.
Right.
That's a very big, like, wait, what?
Right.
And then what are those parameters? Is it just a different skin color? Is it just a different religion? Is it just a different sexual orientation? Like, what parameters are you no longer loving thy neighbor for?
Yeah. I don't know if I wrapped up the thought, but so part of it was when I was depressed or trying to go through relationship or infertility stuff, part of why I could no longer make excuses for other people is, like, I was trying my best to take care of me, and I just no longer had the energy to try to rationalize what was going on. Like, I got to the point where I was just like, I can only, like, I need a couple of core beliefs to hold on to. And this is not grounding enough. This is not stable. And I need something that's more stable.
Have you found because I imagine that you're not religious anymore, but are you spiritual or are you still religious?
So spiritual, yes. I don't know. Not religious. I do not go to church. I have things that I believe, but I also don't know if I'm right or not. And I've learned that I'm okay with that. am confident that there is so much more than I could comprehend. I think there's so much more than like outside of what alive humans can comprehend. And so I don't know what exactly that is. I have found a lot of things that feel way more grounding and true in things like indigenous wisdom, in like theories around like ancestors, but I don't know. And I'm not really sure anyone can know. But I have learned to be okay with that. It's also a little bit easier because sometimes when you are so confident in something that you're not willing to like listen to other people or like even possibly consider it, I feel like that is I it's too exhausting for me now.
Yeah, I can see that. But I get what you mean. Like when someone is so set in their beliefs that there's no room for questioning or alteration, like even like not alterations, but like adjustments. Alterations, I guess, same thing. It was like we're like, growing up Catholic, there's all the sets of rules that they give you. And like a few times when I was a kid, I was like, well, that's bullshit. Like, and if that guy doesn't do that, then how does anything else he's saying like mean anything? Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of disillusioned as like really early as a kid because I too am very logical and was just like, well, that doesn't track with that. Like,
right.
And to me, it was like very clear, but it was also, I went to school with nuns for 12 years but I was very much like, and my parents they were raised Catholic, but none of them were really practicing because it wasn't practical. Like they worked a lot. Like they both worked full-time jobs. So they didn't go to church all the time. And like they would try to go, but it was also like, 1,800 other things to do. So it wasn't ever a big priority. So I think that also made it easier for me to have like those kind of a distance from it. Mm-hmm. And then we had kids that didn't go to church at all, like in our family. And, none of my dad's 13 siblings were very religious. And his mom wasn't. She had been when she was young, and then she kind of fell out of it because when you have 13 kids,
right,
you don't get a lot of time to go to church,
right,
or anything else. But I've had some of those people in my life that are like, well, no, this is true. And it's like, well, okay, but then why don't you do all these other things? Well, that part's not. Well, how do you pick and choose?
Right.
But they're so staunch in it that they can't even explain to you why they pick and choose. It is. It's like, but why?
Yeah, and I can be a very stubborn person, and I'm actually very good at arguing.
I've seen that.
But I do genuinely believe if you're not able to at least allow for the idea that, whether it's I don't have all the knowledge or I could learn from someone else, or even if I'm confident that what you're saying is not true, if you believe it all the way, like at the very least, I can listen to you and listen to your story and maybe still learn something. Like,
yeah, I have like an admiration for those people that are so like hold strong to their ideas. So like I do have like a respect for that. Like if you really believe it, then like I will respect your right to believe it. And I'm not going to think you're an idiot because you believe it. I may not understand why you believe it, but like power to you if it works for you.
Right.
If you're not hurting anyone else and you want to believe that, not drinking will save you and send you to heaven, then like go for it, dude. Like if you don't judge me because I don't think that.
That's how I feel about people who run all the time. If you think that works, you do you. Seems insane. Would never try it. But you say it works, so okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like absolutely. Don't judge me for not running.
Mm-hmm.
But you go for it. Run all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it's only when your judgment comes across. That's when I have a problem. Like if you're going to judge me, you can judge me from afar, but if you feel a need to come and tell me that I'm living my life wrong, like I'm not telling you you're living your life wrong. That's where I think that's the only place that I get a little like squirrely with people.
Yeah. I agree. And I feel that way, especially when it feels to me in my observations that they are hypocritical in their own beliefs.
Yeah. And most of those people seem to be, to me. Like the people that are really staunch in their religious beliefs or any one belief, when they judge people and then when you really look close at them, they're not living those ideals that they're trying to then press onto other people.
Right.
Like if you can walk the walk and talk the talk, I'll respect you way more. I still won't follow what you think I should do for my life.
Right.
But I'll respect you more than if I know that you're, like priests. We don't have to get into those in the Catholic Church, why there's so many problems. But like, I don't, if you're a priest that has that's probably the worst example I can give. But yeah, religion just is a crazy thing to me.
Yeah. I will say that some of the people I've met, some of the things that I was taught or what I learned, like I wouldn't want to take all of the religion shit out of my life and upbringing, partially because I like who I am and I wouldn't be who I am if my life was different. Partially because there's some really amazing ideas or concepts or hopes in there. Like some of like the idea that like you can love people that much or that you can have hope that exists outside of this exact situation or you should be able to forgive people. And I've also met quite a few people who I genuinely believe that they are absolutely trying their best. And quite frankly, we're probably all hypocritical in some areas. And so I when I find out that people are religious, especially in the Christian, especially like white Christians in America, I have a lot of questions, but I don't automatically assume, like I think there's different levels of hypocriticalness and intentionalness, and there's a difference between, in my mind, I believe this and so I'm trying to live it out, and I have believed this for so long that I need it to be true and I can't question it. Yeah. And I feel like years after kind of leaving the church and working through things, I've seen that on a greater scale. Like I will, like I went to a Christmas Eve service with my parents and I was like, oh, the pastor is using like straight brainwashing language. Like it feels intentional.
Right.
And that's different in my mind than some people. So I think my parents have genuine good intentions most of the time. Life got too crazy and their minds are actually becoming more and more closed because they don't have the capacity or desire to, well, I mean, life is hard.
Life is hard, yeah.
And it's like this, the tighter you can make your beliefs, the harder you can make those lines, the starker you can make the contrast. it's easier. The gray area is difficult to walk through. And I think that ends up just kind of making a different person or encouraging different actions.
Yeah. I'm a person that embraces the gray in some ways. Like, I think life is, a lot of things are black and white, but I think most of life happens in the gray. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to wrap their brains around, because it's so much, as humans, like, our brains automate things that are normal. Like, you just get into this, like, this is this and this is that. And that's very much like, this goes in that column, this goes in that column. Make it easy, make it simple, because life is so hard. But I think most of the things that happen in life are that gray area.
Yeah. We're also taught from a very young age to do that. We do, like, binary things that, like, even before school, but in preschool, kindergarten, we start separating things into two groups or two extremes very quickly. I would be interested to know if, theoretically, like, this starkness and fear of the gray area is as prominent in places where they have different education systems or belief systems.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
And you could just study that, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's kind of one of my, I want to say one of my biggest, but I feel like I have like 30 biggest lessons from my doctorate program is some people have totally different thought processes or like views of the world that I just had no clue was even possible. And some of them I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could think that. That makes so much sense. Yeah. And other ones I just can't comprehend. But, to tie it back earlier too, part of the reason I like memoirs is because it helps me kind of make sense of what is core to being human. And some of the things that I assumed were core to humanity apparently aren't. And I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've had similar times when I've met someone whose life and whose like upbringing is just so far from anything that I was exposed to growing up that I was like, wait, my life could have been like that? Like, how, like you won the jackpot kind of like.
Right.
Or it's like, wow, like your life was so much harder than like I would hope anyone's life is. You know, there are those extremes, but it's like, wait, so you just always knew that you could be your own person and do whatever you wanted to do? Like, how did that happen? Like, what lottery did you win that your parents were just like, oh, tiny human, be whoever you want to be and we will love you? Like,
right.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I also don't know, but apparently people like that exist.
I think they're unicorns, but apparently they do. I've met a couple that have like, I met a girl who's now an artist and she's, you know, amazing and she does all these awesome things. And she was telling me how like when she was younger and she hated school, her parents just like put together a different program for her and took her out of school and then like traveled with her and taught her all these different things because they're also kind of artists and more bohemian lifestyle. But I was just like, wait, that happens? You don't just get told to shut up and go like appreciate what you have?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
People listen to you as a child.
Like you had an opinion even as a kid.
Right. Oh, you had one and people listened?
Right. Something that is pretty prominent in American culture is individualism. And that is one of the things that like I didn't actually grow up with. It was very much what does the family need, which is decided by dad and then mom and then we're told. Like, like there wasn't even it's your birthday, where do you want to go to dinner? It was like, what do we all need? Like, I'm such a great team player. I'm very terrible at picking where we go to dinner. Like, I didn't learn how to make choices for myself. I only, like, growing up, knew how to make choices that benefited the group. And it wasn't actually until I got divorced that I was like, oh, so I have to make this decision just for me and no one else is around. And I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah. I think I'm still figuring out that I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Like when someone's like, well, you just make this. And I'm like, okay, but I know that you also like that. And they're like, no, no, no. And now because I'm learning to do it, sometimes when I'll talk to like my mom and I'm like, so what do you want to do? She's like, well, your father this or the kids. I'm like, not what I asked. And I'm like, oh, this is why I didn't know how to, because she doesn't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
So she can't teach me something no one taught her.
Right.
And I think when you find out your parents are people is like one of the moments that kind of shifts your life. When you're like, oh, they were just doing the best they could. Like they were doing what they thought was right for not only them, but for me.
It'd be great, I think, if my parents could also acknowledge that they did the best they could and that wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like several times where someone would say, what do you want? And I'm like, whatever everyone wants.
Yeah.
I wonder if that relates to the whole, I don't know what my favorite food is. Like, I wonder if that...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That the reason why we don't want to hurt anything else's feelings is because...
Yeah, we don't want to hurt the food's feelings.
We don't want to disappoint the food groups.
But also a lack of the, like, time and practice of making those decisions as opposed to being like, I'm okay with anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
I don't know. Could be true.
This is why you're getting a doctorate. So tell us what you're getting your doctorate in.
I'm getting a doctorate of education in it's international and multicultural education with a focus on racial justice. And then I am just a couple months. Sometimes it's really exciting. Sometimes it's very stressful from being done. So I'm just at the end stages of writing the dissertation, which is focused specifically on white womanhood and like how whiteness and white supremacy is actually gendered in ways that we don't usually talk about.
Oh.
And how learning about that can kind of offer sort of like a roadmap for white women who want to work against white supremacy and just don't know how. Like it feels like it's kind of this like secret code we didn't know we learned, like how to make everyone happy or how to make sure people just think that we're always polite or we know it's appropriate when we're in public or things that are very much tied to whiteness and white supremacy, but not necessarily, but also tied to gender, I guess.
Okay.
And religion actually has come up a lot in that. The participants in my study have brought that up quite often, that we've learned so much of this in church, like shame around any sort of sexuality and like this idea that it is, as white women, like it's our responsibility to take care of kids or to like, we're all just natural caregivers or, like we can just take care of everyone in the room, whether it's like a hostess thing or I can feel some emotional tension and I'm going to figure it out for everyone.
Right.
I think it's, a lot of us learn that in church, I think.
That would make sense because there's so much religion in this country. I mean, although so much of it is different, like sex, and there's slightly different beliefs, there are like those core things about like the man is the head of the household, the woman is his like subservient, and she's there to take care of the children and raise them and get them into the church and make them good parishioners rather than good people.
Yeah, it's tied very much to the very beginnings of this country, like Manifest Destiny was God told us this is our land, and therefore it's fine to commit genocide in order to get this land.
Yeah, and my question for that would always be like, well, if God created this and created the people that were already here, why would he want you to kill them?
Excellent question.
Like, wouldn't he just let you move to the land with them?
Well, the Bible also has lots of, this is your land, kill everyone for it, especially in the Old Testament. I don't know
Yeah.
quite how they justified it. Justified slavery using the Bible.
Yeah.
That is primarily a thing that came through Christianity. Like a lot of the atrocities in this country came from that. Are very tied to religion, specifically Christianity.
Right. Which is crazy considering this country was supposed to be founded on religious freedoms.
Yeah.
That they then used religion to.
Right. They left because there was too much religious oppression.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, what are we in 2023? And they're trying to use the Bible more and more to get more laws and take more rights away from women and now gay people. And they're trying to just turn the clock back. And it's like, no, that's not what this country is supposed to be at all.
Right. I mean, I know lots of people who are very upset that we elected a Catholic. We've had nobody fact check me on this, but a couple of Catholic
not a lot though
presidents. They've mostly been, white male Protestant. Yeah, we still use the Bible in courtrooms. It's.
I think they're not in hotel rooms as much though.
The last one I went to, they had rosaries with the Bible. And I was like, oh, this is a Catholic hotel.
Because I now, when I travel, I will look to see if there's a Bible.
And there's not always one?
Not always. Huh. I have, in a lot of, I was just in Vegas. I mean, it was Vegas. But there was no Bible in that hotel.
Interesting.
And when I drove cross country the last time, when I was in the Bible Belt, of course. But there was a couple hotels that didn't have it. And I was like, maybe we're moving forward. Maybe people are just, or maybe hotels are getting cheap because people steal them.
It's a very funny idea that we're like, we'll give you towels, an iron, and the Bible. You bring everything else. Yeah. You don't need to bring your own Bible.
No, we have that for you.
But,
in case you
bring your own
read
comb.
We do have a toothbrush. And the soap is now bolted to the wall.
Right.
But there's still a Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think, how much of do you think your upbringing or the fracture in when you left now has shaped what you do for work and what you're getting your education in and you're fighting for other people?
Yeah, I think I kind of went through an interesting cycle. It's probably very, as I say, interesting. I feel like maybe it's really predictable, but really wanted nothing to do whatsoever with almost anything religious, almost anything from the Bible, etc. And in the last, since I've moved to California, so in the last 4 years or whatever, I feel like I've been able to kind of circle back and say, there are some things that are good. There are some things I love about myself that can be attributed to that. And I can kind of pick out what is helpful. Tends to be the sort of things that is in almost every religion, you should treat people nicely and be generous or things like that. So yeah, I mean, it definitely shapes who I am. I don't know that it necessarily shapes my work and career very much, or not that I immediately can draw connections to. But it would be very hard for me to say that it doesn't impact so much. positively and negatively. Almost all of like the things that I struggle with around shame or guilt or like fear of what people think about me, or all of these things can be tied very specifically. Like I've done a lot of work. I can tie them to specific memories and stories from childhood, like when I was told those things. Like,
Right.
if I misbehave in public, not only am I risking my dad's job, but I'm risking the salvation of other people because I'm representing Jesus. And so if I am not perfect, I could accidentally be sending someone to hell.
That is so much pressure to put on a kid.
Yeah. I only
Or
recently,
a person.
Yeah, right?
Just a person even, never, I mean, as a kid especially, but just as a person.
Yeah. And so like sometimes this is one of those things I've grown in so much and also clearly have so much to grow still. But there's a lot of things like that I'm aware of now. Like, oh, this is why I'm like nervous about if I drink too much and I hear a story about me and I was like, well, I didn't remember that. Oh no, what did I do? A lot of that ends up being tied to like what I was taught as a kid, which totally makes sense. That's when your brain is most malleable. And I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I think one, too, it's the fact that you drink now. I mean, currently we're having a sip of alcohol each. But like the fact that you've come so far is, you know, and it was the work that you've done, which is not easy. And it's probably a lot of therapy.
Yes.
Other than therapy, what's helped you?
Reading. I love reading. So reading stories of, like I've read a lot of stories of women, who, like two that I'm thinking of, Isabella Allende and Geo something Bell. These two women who grew up in different countries in South America in pretty like strict families and disappointed all their family members when they joined the revolution. Reading stories like that helped me not only like know that I'm not the only one or I'm not crazy, but also like give me kind of this hope for what comes next, I guess. Or in the United States, reading stories like Mabs Segrest, who grew up in the South in the Bible Belt, came out as a lesbian and also worked against the KKK, and her family kind of hated that. Or Anne Braden, who was tried for sedition because her and her husband bought a house for a Black person in a white neighborhood.
Oh.
Reading stories like that help, especially when they're like, and this part was really hard and I don't have the answer. It helps to know that you don't have to have the answer. Having really good friends is also like friends that you can have conversations like this with, where you can say things like you can be just all the way honest and vulnerable. And I think for me, I have found that a lot of the most significant relationships in my life have been the ones that have been formed when I was actually too devastated to be anything other than authentic all the time. Because I'm so very trained to know what people want and or need, and so very trained to think that what they think of me is related to my worth. And so the times that I have been kind of at my lowest, and then it turns out that people still like me, have been helpful. And I mean, I love education. Education has been that in so many ways. The way it stretches my brain, it gives me new ways of looking at things. Yeah. Also recently, nature, love it.
Ooh.
This ties kind of to the religious or the spirituality thing. I don't have the words for it all the time. It was probably 2 years ago now. It was during COVID. I was walking around and I had this realization that like somehow my heart is kind of having this conversation with like the water and the trees that my brain's not a part of. And that has just never been a thing. Like everything runs through my brain. And I remember the thought where I was like, oh, my brain doesn't have to be involved. Something's happening. I don't know what. Guess I don't need to. Like,
I like that you surrender into the unknowing, like, and that you're finding comfort in that.
I will say weed helps in those moments.
It does. I think it opens you up in a different way.
Yeah.
Like it gives you a different, I always like to say it gives me a better bandwidth. I like, and I liken that to microdosing with mushrooms too, is that like when you microdose, like you don't feel trippy. Like if you take a little too much of a microdose, things might look slightly brighter or like the colors are just a slightly more vibrant. But for the most part, like you don't feel it. But at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I was in a better mood and my ability and my bandwidth to deal with people and to see them as just like nice beings that maybe are having a bad day is bigger.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up mushrooms because I do feel like every time I've done them, it has been, I have walked away with such a significant lesson. Maybe not every time, but the first like 5 to 7 times, like it was very, very significant and healing for me. Like I remember one of the times I just realized like I'm okay now. Like I've been through a lot. I've been trying hard. I've been crying. Like, but I think right now I'm okay. I have a lot more to go. Well, whatever. But
right. I like to say
for the first time I'm okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to say like, well, maybe all the bad's already happened. Like when I have like, I'm excited about something and someone in my life, because I have a couple of people in my life, whenever I go to them, their first thought is, or their first comment is like, well, I hope it doesn't rain, or like, I hope it doesn't get canceled. And you're like, I'm so excited about this. And your first instinct is like to say it's going to be ruined, or like it won't happen, or like, oh, well, like it's something kind of negative to like bring it down.
Like I'm trying to help protect you from disappointment.
But I'm just raining on your parade.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, maybe can't we just be excited for it? Because maybe all the bad shit's already happened.
Yeah.
Like I've already been through a shit ton of stuff that most people don't have to. Some people have been through way worse, like not measuring my T's, but like maybe all the bad shit's already happened and I've survived all of that. So now all the good stuff can come.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the kind of person who will kind of put a cap on how excited I get about things because, I guess nobody likes disappointment, but I especially don't like the idea that I didn't know it was coming, or I didn't think through it, or I made a bad decision, like that it's somehow something that my brain should have been able to figure out or plan for. I don't like being wrong.
Yeah. Or like a workaround.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also, people who are always concerned about everything that could go wrong, it just seems like a stressful way to live life. Plus, like, what if it does rain? Rain's cool.
Sometimes you can dance in the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I do the same thing. I have a cap on like how excited I get. And like, I'm going on vacation and someone's like, oh, are you so excited? I'm like, I will be. Like, once I'm on the plane, then I get excited. But until then, part of me is like, it probably won't happen. It'll get canceled. Like, or there'll be a disaster. Like, part of me, because there's so many people in my life that have been so negative, there is a part of me that still has that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like work through it and be excited and like want to be doing research on the place I'm going and like planning all the things I'm going to do once I get there. But I just have this block on it. Like, I'll do that on the plane once I know it's actually happening.
Yeah, I feel like that's also something that I've been working on kind of recently. I used to say, when people would say like, are you excited about this? I would say, I'm excited to have done it.
Right.
But I don't know enough going in. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And I'm happy to tell you how it went. Like,
I'll be excited afterwards.
Yeah. But part of it was actually reflecting on those friendships I had in Spokane that got me through so much and realizing I didn't know at the time how special and unique that was. And I had that thought a couple of times before it hit me that, like, what is happening now that I need to know? Like, this is happening in this moment. Like writing a dissertation sometimes makes me feel insane. But also, it's unlikely that there are going to be many times in my life where I just get to sit down and read and write and think through things. And I am not quite creating new knowledge, but at least creating a way to look at it that's not currently published, you know? And like sitting down with my highlighters and my books, like I love it so much. And it won't always happen, especially when it's not structured or assigned or something like that. And trying to be more in the present, and not always worried about the future or planning for the future. Something I'm working on.
Well, I mean, and you must have to, because you work full time and you're going to school and you have relationships. Like, you're balanced for that. And the fact that you do carve out time that you have to carve out that time to do the reading and the highlighting and the thinking through it do you think you would do that if you didn't have to write your dissertation?
No.
I mean, I know you've been in school for a long time.
Right. But. I mean, so there are definitely times, multiple occasions, that I straight up and looking up other programs that I could do when I'm done.
Yeah.
It's borderline concerning or addiction. I really love school and I love learning. But to be honest, like, my relationships with my partners, they have to do more than more than their share. Makes it sound like you split relationships, but I am not able to offer as much to them or to their relationships because of how time consuming, how much mental work it takes. Like, this is what I do on the weekends. This is what dictates how late I can stay out. This is what I'm thinking about all the time. It's also so emotional. It's also, I'm working through things where I'm like, oh, so I've just learned that this is something that I didn't realize is perpetuating white supremacy that I do all the time. Like, like it's a moral exhaustion at times. And I love it. And especially like these last few months of writing the dissertation, which is more consuming than just being in classes. Outside of that, I have almost no ability to like think creatively or take in new information or, I was walking somewhere with Dory the other day and he's like, I want to go here sometime. And I said, excellent. Love it. Either you plan it or tell me in May. I just don't have the capacity to hold that and like for future planning.
Right.
It's not that I don't hear you. It's just not accessible right now.
Right. But it's also a great thing that you know yourself and your timing to be able to say that to Tori and say, like, I want to know this and I want to do this with you, but like you either need to plan it or talk to me about it again when I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a very powerful, and I'm assuming that's something that took you a while to learn how to do, is to say like, okay, I do, and I hear it and I see it, but I can't do that right now.
Right. Yeah, it did. Because it almost sounds really mean in my head to say that. Like it to me sounds like I'm saying, I don't have time for you. You figure it out. Like, but both Tori and Matt are so incredibly supportive.
Well, and just to clarify for anyone that's listening, is that you have partners.
Yes, I do.
You do not. And I think that this was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I thought, how did you get into that lifestyle? I mean, if you call it your lifestyle.
Yep.
But also, like, how do you... I have a hard enough time with demanding stuff from one partner. Yeah. Never mind being like, not only will I demand things, not demand things, but like, I have these kind of things that I want, and I want them from you, and I want them from you, and both of you can meet and like each other or not, but this is how I'm going to operate. Like, that to me is knowing your worth on a different level almost.
Well, it's real hard, and sometimes it's just me pretending that I'm good.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. What you might find funny is when I first met Tori and I was telling him about being poly, he asked me to... I was talking about how I'm really good at PowerPoints, and he's like, do you want to make me a PowerPoint about poly? And I'm like, ooh, well, that got me going.
That turned me on in so many ways.
Way to go, yeah. And then he was like, I looked up the 3 books on it, or, yeah. It's not hard to impress me.
I like that he looked them up. He didn't maybe read them, but he looked them up.
Did.
No, I'm sure he
love
did.
Love it.
Did you make a PowerPoint? And will you share it
I
with us?
absolutely did, and yes, I will.
All right, perfect.
And in that PowerPoint, I list my dissertation as another relationship.
Oh,
I said,
that's
effectively
smart.
speaking, if we're talking about
your
actual time, or if we're talking about any sort of mental, emotional energy, in poly terms, like that is like my primary partner right now.
And in some ways, that's just you putting you on the board as your, like, that's a version of you that's a primary partner.
Yeah. So I think the way, how did I get into poly? Was that the sort of question? Sure. I guess for me, I would have said that I was poly for like a couple of years before I was actually in more than one relationship. And part of it comes similar to when we were talking about religion, when after my religion crumbled, my relationship crumbled. Like, I so much fully believed that wasn't possible. That there was absolutely no way. Like, I had no concept that divorce was really a possibility. And one of the benefits, that sounds too nice. One of the lessons I was able to take from that is whatever these structures are, or the things that people tell you should be, it doesn't matter how much you believe in them or how hard you try. And I also like genuinely thought that my love could overpower his lack of love. And well, first of all, I learned that some of what I thought was love was actually like I need attention and I need you to validate that I'm worthy, which is apparently not the same as love, according to many therapists.
Isn't that a kick in the face?
But also, like, where I'm at now is I would say love is absolutely that powerful, but it does that to you. And you can't really change someone else. They have to be they have to be open to it. They have to be willing. And so for me, it is part of it is that I feel like I have I feel like I can be a lot, and can ask a lot from people. And it's great when I can split it up. I feel like it's easier. But that's probably the worst thing to say first. For me, it's more about I just don't like the idea that there are that if I meet someone, I have to like in the back of my head remember rules about what could or could not come out of a friendship or a relationship. Some of the things that I really, really enjoy about being poly are things like I will talk with my partners about other people we think are attractive, or there's a lot less jealousy when one of us is talking to somebody else, or it's kind of like this thing where it's forced me and also them to do all of the shit you should probably do in a monogamous relationship for it to be healthy and successful. And we had to do it real quick, real fast. Like we had to be clear about what are our expectations. When I am hurt, like what part of that is my insecurities, and how do I communicate like what boundaries I think are appropriate, and I'm aware you get to disagree with me. Like all these conversations that ideally any relationship would have, we had to do pretty quickly. Right. Yeah, I love it. It's kind of forced me to be a healthier version of myself. I think it's kind of like I thought I had an analogy, but I yeah, I don't actually feel like I need to like try to persuade anyone else to be poly. But I do think that a lot of our rules around monogamy are steeped in a bunch of bullshit that we don't back up. Like it comes out of, again, like religion and, like control of women and of, whatever the right word is for like how many kids are born. Yeah.
It's a way not only to control women, but households.
Yeah.
Like if you can control a woman, you can control a house, because most women are in charge of a house.
Yep.
So you keep her home, you keep her.
Yeah. And I think that like it teaches, or assumes things that, aren't true. Like, what's a good example? Like that in order for a relationship to be considered successful, it has to genuinely last forever. And the length of the relationship is more significant than the health of the relationship. So I try, instead of saying something like, we should be together forever. Like, we should be together as long as it's healthy for both of us.
Right.
And if at some point it becomes not healthy, then obviously we can work on it and try different things. but trying to make the relationship last longer despite it being unhealthy isn't actually better.
Right.
And I feel like that's one of the things that monogamy will sometimes assume is that if a relationship ends, it's a failure. And yeah, so I think that I think it just allows for me not only some flexibility, but just like this ability to just interact with people in like a genuine way, and allows relationships to come however they come, and allows me to just love people in whatever way that ends up looking like. I feel like some of my good friendships that I have now would be really different if I was still monogamous at that point, because then you have to be worried about if you're breaking some rules if you talk to someone too long at a bar, or if like can we hug, or is that not appropriate? Like, where are those rules? It for me, it breaks kind of the binary of what is you're either in a relationship or you're not. Like, I can have friendships, relationships on this whole sort of spectrum.
It's interesting that you said that, because it's the first time I think I've put together that, like, because I have a friend she's like, I'm poly, and she's been sleeping with a bunch of people. Great, no problem. But some of those people are like, in other people's lives. And some of those people have been like, okay, if you're not going to date him, like, maybe don't sleep with him. Or, there's been conversations that happen. And she's like, well, I'm poly, and I'm poly. And it's like, okay, that doesn't mean that you just sleep with everyone. Like, it means, and she's like, well, I want my relationships to be however they are. But okay, but you should also respect some of your non-sexual relationships.
Yeah.
And that to me has been where, like, my brain is always getting trapped about the poly means that you're sleeping with everyone. But your description made me just realize that poly gives you the freedom to have relationships with someone without worrying about breaking those rules. Because when you're monogamous, even your friendships with someone of the same sex, opposite sex, there are these kind of boundaries on your intimacy. Right. Because you could then be even giving the, like, appearance of crossing a boundary with this other relationship that maybe is getting deeper on. Or you hear people talking about, like, emotional cheating. But if you take that kind of out with the poly thing, it's not emotionally cheating, because you're valuing this relationship doesn't mean that you're not valuing that relationship.
Right.
Where in monogamy, that's what it seems to do, is like, I can't have a deep interpersonal relationship with you because I'm supposed to be completely monogamous with this person.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it definitely, I think it would be hard to talk about poly and not talk about having sex with more than one person.
Right. But it's not just about that.
No, it's not. And it also kind of, in my mind at least, breaks some of the conceptions I had around sex too. Like, I could have a friend that I make out with all the time, and that's it. Because that could be fun. Why not? Or like a friend where we like snuggle. And I think that, what else was I going to say? Oh, on cheating, like, I feel like sometimes people think that poly means, like, a lack of commitment, or that nothing is cheating, but there's still absolutely things that, like, I have boundaries, and they're different in each relationship. And we talk about it. And if I did something and hid it from somebody, like if I was like, I hope they don't find out, that's still bad.
Right. That's basically the cheating part.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also I want to have these relationships. I want to be able to meet and or interact with someone just like all the way, all the time, and not feel like there's random ass, not in my mind, justifiable rules that are getting in the way of what could be an incredible connection in whatever way it forms. But I think that there are people who will either think of or maybe even use the term poly to mean like I just sleep with anyone or like that I'm thinking of someone who has said that they're poly, but then what they meant was like they just cheated on their girlfriend all the time.
Oh. Yeah, no, if you're poly, your partner has to be poly too. Or they have to know that you're poly.
They have to know that you're poly, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like you can just treat people like shit, you know?
Most poly relationships I know are like, to me, like I would think that that's over communicating. You know what I mean? In a way, like, but it's there are no secrets. You get to be a fuller, more authentic version of yourself because you've had to now have these conversations about what are your boundaries? What are their boundaries? What are the ones that you agree on? What are the ones that aren't? Like, what's your rule for having another partner or dating someone, or at what point do you have to tell each other? Like, there are all these conversations that have to happen. I know a couple of couples that have schedules, like actual Google calendars for who they spend.
I love Google Calendar. But I read in a book once that they're like, I'm pretty sure Google Calendar exists for poly.
It's probably why it was developed.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, so like they have like schedules and color coded and who's with them and where they are and like, and then some of their partners are friends and they go out and it's like, it's a community of like people that want to have good relationships, that don't want to censor themselves with each other or in the world. And part of me, I mean, I can see the draw to it.
Yeah, I feel like I like most things, observed for a long time and read books and collected data.
You're such a research geek.
I know. And what I remember thinking is like, oh, you're interacting with people kind of in like what theoretically would be ideal if we all did, but like seems too messy in real life. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say that like it's easier for me than some people. Like we don't have kids. There's like other things that just make things simpler. But there's also a lot of things that are super, super hard. I think actually there are quite a few people in Alameda who have this assumption that I'm just like on top of everything. Like I'm just this like badass who just tells people what I want or need. And
oh, that's basically my perception of you.
I know. Glad that I'm coming across that way. But usually when it comes up for me is when it seems like people are like, oh, how is this for you, Tori or Matt? And I want to be like, sometimes it's hard for me too. Like I'm also working through emotions, or more often working through the feeling that I'm in charge of their emotions. And then I'm like, why do I have to do this emotional work for you? And then they're each like, I genuinely did not ask you to.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh.
But you also will have that conversation.
Yeah. You have to. Like, it's like, I mean, I know for a fact that there are poly relationships that are not healthy. I don't know how though. I feel like it just, for me, and I guess I shouldn't speak for Tori and Matt, but I feel like for them also, it just kind of requires you to work through insecurities that you know you should work through anyway. And sometimes I think so for me, sometimes what's hard is I think people assume I don't have those insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
And I absolutely do. And especially like, so when Matt moved here, because Matt and I had been together, we have known each other for a super long time. We were long distance dating. He was still in Spokane when I was here. Then I met Tori. People around here loved Tori so much. Mm-hmm. Tori's not poly.
I don't think I realized that Tori wasn't poly.
Yeah.
I knew Tori was deeply in love with you, but I don't think I realized that.
Yeah. From like the moment
you met, yeah. I think I met you guys like not long after you met each other and was like, they're so cute. They're so in love. And then I heard Matt was coming to town and I was like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there were times where I felt like people were picking sides.
Yeah, that must be really hard because it must feel like people, or not feel, I'm sure people think that they should have an opinion about your relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And who you're with more. And
random people will tell me.
And they'll just tell you.
Still.
Really?
They'll tell me things like, oh, this person is better for you.
Mm.
Or I like so many people to both me and Tori after Matt moved here would say things like, Hannah, do you know that Tori loves you? Like, do you know how hard this is for him? And like all these things where I'm like, do you know, I know that you are concerned about his emotions, but there's also other people with emotions. Like we're all trying to figure this out.
And it's not like it's not a choice for Tori to stay or not.
Right.
Like, it's not like you're forcing him into this. It's fully of his choice and his decision.
Did not trick him.
No.
I made him a PowerPoint beforehand. Like,
you have taken the time to help educate him, and he has decided to stay.
We sat at Cafe Jolie, went through the slides, and I let him ask questions.
It astonishes me that people think that they are so entitled to share their opinion about someone else's relationship.
Yeah, and I know now, I didn't always know this at the beginning. It's easier for me now to know they think that they're being helpful. They're trying. They aren't trying to say anything mean or negative, or, people will say things that hurt that you don't... Yeah. They didn't know it was going to hurt.
Yeah, I like to say people, they're coming from a good place, but their delivery sucks.
Yeah. What is better for me, at least now, is that with most of the people who are friends, I feel like they have learned what to say, what not to say. And I think that's also part of what was hard about it, is it felt very much like the west side of Alameda was learning poly by watching us.
Mm. Like you guys are the education.
Right. And because everybody already knew Tori and knew that wasn't Tori, that was me, it felt like people were like, so Hannah knows poly. And I'm like, oh, this is also my first time in more than one relationship. Like,
and now you're trying to have to explain your life choices to people, some that you care about, some that you're not that you don't care, but you're kind of indifferent towards whether or not. And that has to be hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you grew up having to please everyone.
Yeah.
And so it adds so many layers to it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that is hard for me, and I just had this thought that as I say this, I feel like then I have to pay you for being a therapist, is that so I had never lived by myself, done any, I moved here, and it was the first time in my life I had ever done anything by myself. I had ever made choices for myself. I had ever had to make friends outside of church. I didn't know how to do it. And I was so scared. And I, for the first time, learned that I like love me even outside of relationships, etc. And like so many amazing, amazing things have happened. And then over the last year and a half almost, it feels like a lot of like the relationships I built or places I would go, like it's the things that I had built aren't quite the same anymore. Like when I walk into some place, they say, how's Tori or how's Matt or how are relationships? And I know that people know that I'm a human outside of relationships, but because that was just like such a learning curve or something they had to kind of wrap their heads around, and because it was literally the first time in my life I had been my own person and not a part of a family or, a part of a marriage. Like I noticed that it changed when it just started to be, hi, Hannah, how's Tori? Hi, Hannah, how's Matt been? Like,
right. That must give you like a level of confidence too, to know in some ways that to know like you made your life decisions and it was difficult for some people, but all the people that actually care about you have now learned how to speak to you in a way that's like loving and caring and shows that they respect you and your decisions and respect you, like, and love you for just who you are and all of those decisions, even if they don't even understand them.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
respect it and they love you. So your decisions and who you are authentically as a person is of value.
Greg at Fireside taught me that. I remember actually I was telling Matt one time, I was like, so went to the bar at the corner, first time we were allowed to be out without masks before we all went back indoors with masks. And I was like, I had this like incredible conversation with like an old white guy, the sort of person I would absolutely not want to talk to at a bar. But it's like fine. I feel like Fireside for a while, and Greg and other people there, like that's where I felt like I would just show up and be me, and because there weren't expectations that I felt the need to live up to, I could kind of go in and give no fucks. Yeah. And then people liked me, and that was like a learning thing for me. And there are times that I absolutely miss people wanting to know me outside of relationships. I do think, probably, I assume, quite possibly incorrectly, that if people were to talk about me, being poly is one of the things that they would absolutely bring up. Mm-hmm. And I get why, but also I would never be like, oh, so this person, they're monogamous. Right? Like,
right. Well, it's like with someone who's straight. Like when you're talking about someone who's straight, you're not like, oh, Hannah, who's straight?
Right.
You're like, Hannah, she dates like, so-and-so. Like there's no like, oh, well, this is Trey and he's gay. Like,
right.
It's almost like a qualifier.
Yeah.
Which happens. And it's like, this is Hannah who's poly. And it's like, why does that have to happen?
And so I get why we do that. Most of the time it's because it is different than what we normally assume.
Right.
But a lot of times when you point it out, it almost makes it sound like it should be different than what we should assume.
Yeah. I think we have to drop qualifiers as like not qualifiers, labels. I think we've gotten so attached to labels. Not me, like not you, but like so many people want everyone to know their labels.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I'm a stranger in the grocery store. I do not need to know that you are whatever your current labels are. I just need can I just have my fish? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I had a girl come through one of my lines one day. Not a girl, excuse me. I had a group of girls coming through a line of an event that I was working. And I turned around and I was like, hey, ladies, what's up? And this one person in the group like chastised me because they're a them, not a she. Well, you walked up with 4 other girls. You all have crop tops and skirts on and full faces of makeup. But you are going to chastise me because you're a they. Like, you're walking through the door. Like, to me, that is like, you have to be so special and so everything that you can't let a greeter at a door just, I would not have guessed that they were a they. And power to you if you want to be a they. But you have to try to make me feel like an asshole because I greeted a group of 6 people with a, hey, ladies, as you're walking up, dressed in the uniform of girls going to a club.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely hate being called a lady. So I use she and they pronouns.
But a group of women, like, I didn't say, hey, guys, you know, and like, I usually say y'all. So and I've done that since I was probably 19 or 20, because I made that mistake once at a group of tables. And I, am very usually cautious of it. But when there's 1,500 people coming through my door and you've been in line for 20 minutes and now you want to yell at me.
Right.
Like what?
Yeah, I imagine that a lot of that comes from, when you have to do so much work to convince people that who you are is still human.
Right. Oh, yeah, I don't.
It pops out more.
Right.
But yeah, it would be great if we could just all learn and accept that.
Right. Well, in both ways. Like, if they'd come up to me in any other spot, I probably wouldn't have said, excuse me, ma'am, Like,
also hate that one.
Yeah, I hate that one too. But like, I would have caught,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be seen and celebrated, but how much of our days
you don't deserve
to be yelled at and chastised for
the comment clearly carried more than that.
Right.
Like there was more background trauma or hurt or I have to defend who I am to everyone, and that means you. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I will love and respect whoever you are. Like, and I'm sorry and I saw her later and I was like, listen, I, again, didn't mean to. You were, and she was like, I just, they, yeah, they were like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, well, it was 10 minutes ago.
Right.
So now if I come and I see you again and I'm trying to, now it's not a big deal. So is it because you're offended because of your identity, or did you want to showboat for your friends?
Right.
Or
did you think you were teaching me something I didn't know?
Right. Yeah. As I'm walking through with my friend in full drag.
Yeah.
Like, come here, baby. Let's, you know what I mean? Like, you see me with my, like, like now I'm saying, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that you were trans or whatever your identifier are. And I apologize. Now you want to tell me it wasn't a big deal. It's just let it go. Well, if you're going to make a scene and I'm going to generally apologize, now you're going to say it's not worth it?
It's like, very confusing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think that gets some people kind of, like, what do you want from me then? And to me, it's like, why do we have to, I get that everyone should be seen, but do we have to cling to so many labels?
Yeah, I mean, it would, the longer we talk, the more I will say, I wrote about this in my research. But these binaries, like we make the he and the she as so separate instead of a spectrum.
Right.
That like, or we talk about black and white, like those are the only 2 colors a person could be.
Right.
Or poly and monogamy, like they're just totally separate, opposite things. And in reality, none of those things exist on a binary. And I have books to back it up. Almost all of those binaries were very much enforced for the sake of power differentials.
Right.
But we're so used to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like so many other things. I think the world would be so much better if we could just figure that out. I don't know how to do that.
No. But I think most people do, like, it's like we were talking about in living in the gray. I think most people fall somewhere on a spectrum. They're not like all or one. Like very female presenting. Most people would say I'm more like a guy than I am a girl. Like, and I take that as a compliment. I've been a tomboy almost my whole life. But now part of me is like, can I be a tomboy? Like, is my niece a tomboy or is she on a spectrum? Like, I'm almost sometimes afraid to say stuff. And this is just lack of kind of some knowledge. Like some things I don't want to insult someone. Like I want to value you and I don't want to say like the wrong thing where like we can't get past that conversation because I just said something inept or not ignorant, but like I didn't say it the way that I should have or you think I should say it.
And
like, can we have more of a conversation of that? Like, hey, this is because I'll accept you for whoever you are as long as you're not an asshole.
Right.
Like, that's my life philosophy.
Right.
I don't care what you want to dress or how you want. As long as you're not hurting anyone and you're not an asshole, I'm in. Let's go.
I would guess that for the most part, no one really fits fully in the binary. Like, there might be people who do more than others. But, I mean, I would genuinely be shocked if I met a woman who just like loved all things pink and loved cleaning the house and like just like everything.
Wants to be barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah. Scared of all things spiders.
Right.
And like absolutely there are people who are more that than not. But yeah, we've been taught in these binaries that are just not helpful for anyone.
Right.
At all. Because with binaries comes hierarchy. We think one is better than the other, almost always. It's really hard for our brains to say there are two opposite things that are actually equal. And I feel like what sometimes will happen is it becomes sort of this like, what do we call it? Oppression Olympics, where we're trying to be like, my struggle is harder than yours, or and like the fact is sometimes it's true. Like maybe your struggle is the sort of one where you're trying to not get murdered for who you are. And that's different than me being like, sometimes it hurts my feelings when people don't ask how I am and just how my relationships are. Like those are different.
Right.
But yeah, I think that if we could just talk about it
and give each other a little more grace. Like, I think that's what we're missing. Like,
remember that they were also taught and raised in that. And sometimes we just have to like say, I'm sorry that I am, you are welcome to say you don't want to teach me and I will Google it later.
Yes.
But I want to learn. Right.
And when someone wants to learn, like, and I love that. Like, it's not your job to teach me. But if I want to learn, it's not your job to discount my wanting to learn.
Right.
Or to like be like,
you can't give me an F.
You can't
if you're not my teacher.
Yeah. And you can't be mad at what I don't know if I'm willing to learn. I don't know what I don't know. So if I misstep or I say something and I'm willing to apologize and either ask the question or be like, I'm sorry that happened. That wasn't my intention. Then like that, I think should carry something.
Yeah.
And I think that both sides have to be better about that.
Yeah.
If you're a person that doesn't understand it.
Both sides sounds like a binary.
Yeah. Well, all sides. Yeah. It goes back to the fucking binary. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That binary and the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Both need to go to their rooms.
Yeah. I sometimes I struggle with that because fully agree. You're willing to learn. Also, at some point, like with some things, you have to be like, you're how old and you didn't know?
Yes.
That feels like that has to be maybe subconsciously, but still like an intentional choosing to not hear or listen.
Yeah.
And so like I want to be able to have expectations for how humans should treat humans.
Mm-hmm.
And the capacity to like fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all do.
Right. And being able to admit that you fucked up is like one of the biggest things. Because when someone can't admit it, like, all right, then they're an asshole. Like if they don't want to learn and they're being an asshole and they don't want to do anything to change it, then that person's just an asshole and you should probably not interact with them
Especially
anymore.
if they're like, in fact, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
You are incorrect about who you are.
Oh, I fucking hate that. I've had people tell me that and like, no, that's not who you are. Like, how do you know who I am?
Yeah. I have seen it a lot of times. I would fight people, but I'm too small and I wouldn't be good at it.
And violence is never the answer.
Also,
apparently.
That's what, yeah, I've heard that.
I've heard that too. I feel like it's maybe not true. No, it's never the answer.
Well, it probably definitely shouldn't be when you're intoxicated, which is most of the times I've seen it.
Yeah. And why you want to kill someone for being who they are is just beyond me.
Why? Yeah, and that is so rampant in our country on so many levels.
Yeah, and I don't understand hating someone that much. And this is where like sometimes I think I just am not really a person. Like, because I don't understand hating someone for the way they look or who they sleep with. Like that person, if you don't like the way they look, then look the other way. Like if they're not in your life, they're not coming home to your house. Why do you care what they're doing?
Yeah, I had something like this happen the other night where, why do you need to interject and tell me that you think what's happening is weird?
Right.
I don't know you. You don't know me. If you're asking for information, genuinely always happy to share. Love it. For what purpose do you need to tell me you don't like it?
Right. Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
I love that you will share and you're always willing to like explain and talk. I am not. Like there are some things that like I don't feel the need to explain myself to you.
Absolutely. And there are some things like for some people that it's like they don't want to, it's not safe to, they need it to not be something they explain all the time, right. Which I feel like maybe a little bit with Polly sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that the person asking needs like respect that. Like here's a really
also, can I ask you the exact same question?
Right. Like this is a really kind of bland kind of explanation or like example of this is the other night I was at work and someone was asking me how many miles I did before I got to work. And I was like, oh, not a many. I like had a bunch of shit to do. So someone's like, oh, do you have a pet? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, why do you walk all those miles then? It's exercise. It's for my health.
Yeah.
Like, well, why don't you have a pet? Like, oh, I work too much. Well, just bring the dog to the bar with you. Well, I do other things. So, well, what other bars do you work at? I'm like, excuse me?
So you're defending.
And I'm like, what? And I was like, oh, I do other things than work in bars. And like, well, what do you do? And it wasn't even just the questions. It was like the attitude behind. I'm like, dude, I've never met you before. You're at my bar for the first time. But now you're telling me I need to have a pet, that my walking's stupid because I don't have a pet. Now you're assuming that you know that I am a bartender and that's all I ever do. And the only other place I could work is a bar. Because I said I have other jobs. Well, what other bar do you work at? No other bar. Well, why can't you bring the dog to that bar? Because I work in offices sometimes. Well, what offices? And I look and I said, why does it matter? Because I want to know.
Resume?
And I was like, and he's like, well, and this girl was sitting there was like, I want to know. And I was like, and she's like, well, what offices? And I looked at her again and I said, why would it matter? And she was like, well, because I want to know. And I was like, okay. And then I just turned and walked away. Why do you want to know something? So I need to tell you? I don't know who you are. And I don't care if you're my customer or not. It's not any of your fucking business. Like, and your line of, like, and your tone was inappropriate. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like casual conversation. It turned into like an interrogation.
Yeah.
Like, I walked away and like, this is when I hate people.
A couple weeks ago, at work, somebody said, like, Hannah, do you think you want to have kids? And I was like, I hear that you think you're asking an innocuous question. And I know that if I answered and told you that, like, I did so many years of infertility and insane treatments, and like, it's something that sometimes will get me like in the fetal position on the floor weeping about, and I'm currently still trying to work on knowing that like I just have other life goals, and maybe that's okay. And like, you don't want all that information, right? Like, why is this a question?
Yeah, I hate that question.
And like, also, I know you're not specifically asking, but it feels like you're also being like, so what's up with your uterus? Or like, yeah.
Yeah, I hate that question too for very similar reasons. Well, the same reasons. I knew as a young kid that I probably wouldn't be able to have kids. And so even as like a young kid, I'm like, well, when you have kids, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I'll have them. Oh, no, you will. No, I might not. No, you will. Of course you will. And in my head, knowing I may not be able to.
Yeah.
Now then do I have to explain to this person like, well, I may not be able to. And how much of my worth is now valued in that, whether or not I'm going to. And that was a mind fuck my whole life growing up. And I was lucky enough as a young kid was like, I don't want kids. I have almost 100 first cousins. I've been babysitting since I was 9.
Yeah.
Like, I have babies that I feel like I raised.
Yeah.
Like, I know I saved I made sure those kids didn't die. Like, that's good enough for me. I've done it. I could do it again. Maybe when I'm older, I will adopt a child if I really feel the need to have one. But like, had I been a kid that really wanted kids, every time that question was put to me, it would have crushed me knowing that if I can't make that happen, what then? Because you keep just telling me my only value will be as a mother.
Yeah, my little sister, side question. At some point, is there like an age you should stop calling them your little sibling?
I don't think so.
Okay. If they're younger, it's fine. Okay.
I mean, one of my cousins I was like, she's my little cousin. She's married, has a kid. Like, she's still she's still younger.
Excellent. My little sister doesn't want to have kids, and my mom will still frequently be like, well, you might feel that way now. But also, like, do people want to hear the fact, like, I'm still trying to figure out what parts of me that want or wanted to be a mom, how much of that is also related to I also wanted to be married. I also wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I am now aware I could not stay sane if I stayed in a house all day.
Right.
Could not. Like, I'm genuinely not sure how much of me wanting to have kids is tied to the storyline I was told I needed to have, and I bought all the way in.
Right.
What I do know for a fact is it is the most traumatic thing in my life. And I said divorce, there's sexual assault, there's like everything else. This is the thing that still hurts the most. Why is this coming up?
Right. Oh, yeah. And yeah. I kind of get like a little verklempt talking about it because it does. Like, I had a girl the other day that was talking to me about something, and she was like, well, you don't understand because you're not a mom. And she was talking about pregnancy.
Oh.
And I finally looked at her and I go, never said I wasn't pregnant.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and was like, well, how was I supposed to know? Well, why are you assuming you do know?
Yeah.
Why are you assuming you do know what I have and haven't been through and what I can and why don't you ask before you assume?
Also, you could have theoretically had a kid, raised them through several years, and no longer have that kid for 100 different reasons.
Right.
None of which strangers need to know.
Right. Like, why you're just going to assume that I don't, like, I that's the thing. And women do it to women all the time. Women on women crimes are the worst.
I don't know that they're the worst.
I mean, I was gonna say, sexual assault may be the worst, but like,
yeah,
emotionally, I think can be the worst.
Yeah,
especially women that you're friends with or like related to or in deeper relationships with.
Like, you feel like you should know that you're referencing something that is bad for all of us, right? Like, you're accepting this lie. I don't know if it makes you feel better, but yeah.
Did you see the controversy with Chelsea Handler online or anything? So Chelsea Handler just did she did the Daily Show for a week because they're having the rotating. Mm-hmm. She did like a skit about the life in a day in the life of a childless woman.
Yeah,
and it was a joke, and it was like, but
I wasn't offended by that as someone. Yeah, she said I don't want to have kids. Cool.
Yeah, so she did like a little parody of her waking up at like 10 o'clock and smoking a joint and doing this and doing that and taking a nap. Like, it was just like a lazy like day in the life of someone without kids. And like Fox News and all these people were like, she's a narcissist and now she's promoting this dangerous lie of how a woman can be happy without children. The amount of damage that those gentlemen did on top of a joke.
It's so very polite of you to call them gentlemen. So very professional of you.
Well, I try to put love out in the world, even when I do not like people.
Gentle just seems...
Those assholes.
Yeah.
But they took this thing that was supposed to be a lighthearted joke and then turned it into, she could not be happy because she does not have children. She's just lying to herself and other women about their lives and how they can be fulfilled without children. And this was like on major news, like how the amount of damage that does to women that can't have children. So now a woman who cannot physically have children is, or doesn't want to, you know, like, I mean, but when you don't want to, that's your choice. When you can't, I think that choice gets taken away. And then those things that are saying that you
or
can't be happy.
Or sometimes if you can, but you don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
You get like, now these guys are saying like you will never actually be happy because you can't have your children. That's what they're saying. And I'm like, how do you say that? One, how do you say that when you have a penis? You don't know what it's like. You can't even imagine it.
Do you understand what the body has to physically go through? No. It is insane.
Most of them don't even understand how our periods work. So why would they understand how having a baby would work?
Yeah. I, as a thought experiment, would be interested to know if their comments had changed at all if she wasn't white. Because a lot of times, especially on channels like Fox News,
I'm sorry. I'm sure they would have been worse if she was of color.
Yeah, I think it would be different. Like,
or they may not have spoken about it at all.
I don't know. I just know what I know. What I was thinking is, there are so many people who think white women should be having more babies as the white population declines.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So it'd be, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine if it were a black woman, what would have come up is something about how she can't keep a man or some bullshit like that.
That's a great point.
One time, so because I want everybody to like me, there are a few times that I will actually like feel comfortable putting someone in their place, I guess. But one of the times I did was on like this double date or something with one of my really good friends, and the guy she was with made some comment about how women should be happy every time their period comes. And I was like, okay. You said it, so now you have to listen. Mm-hmm. Like, not only is it like no. Like, you cannot understand the amount of pain emotionally when you're trying to get pregnant. Second, with so I have endometriosis, and sometimes that means that the pain I have, even if I was not wanting to be pregnant and was afraid that I was, I like sometimes can't move for 2 days.
Yep. I did not know you had endometriosis, but I did too. I was diagnosed surgically when I was like 15, 14, and I was on drugs for a long time. Then I was off them. Then I had other surgeries. I tried to get my uterus taken out like 4 times, and they kept telling me I couldn't.
Yeah, my sister asked for her uterus out, and they said, you're too young, and you need the signature of your husband or parent.
I was too young. In Massachusetts, you couldn't, even if it was, unless it was life-threatening, you couldn't get a, and I was like, so
Because
you're
they
gonna,
know more.
yeah, so you're going to give a 16-year-old 90 morphine pills every month to get through her period, but you will not give her a hysterectomy? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Or, so what I'm told my options are,
they did tell me
hormones.
I could get pregnant. At 16, they told me if I had a baby, it could make me better.
well,
so my
okay, that's
options
also
were
not
drugs.
true.
My options were drugs, pregnancy, or just suffer.
Yeah. So many things to say.
Yeah, but okay, let me
most
tell
of
me
them I
yours.
assume you agree with. Yeah, like you can go on hormones,
Mhm.
which straight fuck with you.
Yep.
Like so many women on birth control struggle with suicide from birth control, like, or depression.
Yeah.
It messes up your body. I did a clinical trial once and it was super effective and also will absolutely give you osteoporosis. So they have to do bone scans all the time.
Yeah.
Like it will deteriorate my bones, but like
You can still
maybe
get
I
pregnant, maybe.
I could move around, that'd be great. That drug actually recently came on the market. Insurance does not cover it. It's $2,000 a month.
And it degrades your bones, but it's still on the market.
Yeah, but genuinely the best option I've heard of. And also, like, so they would say things like birth control, and I would say things like, emotionally, it's actually very hard for me to choose to take something that guarantees I won't get accidentally pregnant. If I accidentally got pregnant, that'd be great for me.
Right.
Especially if it's like some guy not even in the picture. Cool. Great. I'd rather get accidentally pregnant than ever try again.
Right.
And
wait, could you take birth control within your religion?
Or
was that a huge thing?
I was actually put on birth control very young, not for birth control, but because my hormones and my mood swings and everything was so extreme that my mom's like, doctor, fix this.
So she was okay with you going on it because it wasn't for birth control. It was for like the hormones.
Yeah. She was okay putting me on hormone control. Yeah.
Mm. I like that there's that distinction between that. It was not birth control, it was hormones.
Yeah.
That just maybe came in a round clicky click package.
Right. I mean, so with endometriosis, you can also get surgery, and that should help maybe for a year or two, where they will cut out and burn the scars.
I had 2 of those surgeries.
I had one. Surprised me how much pain I was in afterwards. Very much appreciated, though, that then it was like there was medical proof that I wasn't making it up.
Yeah, I once had someone tell me that my cramps were just in my head. As I was doubled over, like crying and like with a hot water bottle.
Yeah.
And not like an old school boil the kettle, pour water into a hot rubber bottle and carry it around in your pants.
Yep.
When those back in like the thermocare things came out, I was like, why did I not invent these?
Yeah, I straight will throw up because I'm in so much pain.
Mm-hmm. I used to. I had a hysterectomy after my divorce. As soon as I got divorced, I got it. Almost as soon as I don't even know if I was divorced. I think I was technically still married when I got my hysterectomy because I was like, this thing's fucking coming out.
Because it is bullshit.
And it really changed everything.
Like one of my partners or something will say like, if you're in so much pain, why are you like, you should call out of work. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be like, hey, boss. So once again, there's some sort of scar tissue on my organs that the doctors don't really know what it is. And I know that, like, you probably don't believe that people should call out for their periods, and I've done this every month, but still gonna do it. Like, I hear you, but, like, I also just have to fucking live my life.
Right.
And frankly, not the most debilitating thing I deal with.
Right.
Even though it will put me in bed for 2 days. And straight anxiety almost the entire month for when I'm going to be in that much pain again.
Yeah. I do not miss living like that.
Yeah.
Like, you saying that, I can feel my whole body getting tense on the thought of, like, what that was like.
Yeah.
Because it was every month, and, like, not just that week. Sometimes there'd be breakthrough pain where randomly I wouldn't have my period, but I would have terrible cramps. And the doctor would be like, oh, yeah, that sometimes happens. Why? Oh, we don't know.
Yeah, it's like every third month for me for some reason. I will think that something has, like, exploded in me. And then I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah.
And then the week after for me, I'm just so tired and trying to recover. And then the next week, I'm trying to remember what week I'm in. And I'm so afraid of, what if it starts early, or, like, can I plan this far ahead, or, and that's just like in the back of my head, because
you're also working full time, writing a dissertation.
Yeah. And, this has been happening every month for at least the last 15 years. So it absolutely sucks and just isn't really something I can take care of now. Like, I can go talk to a doctor. I can get surgery again. Couldn't the last 3 years, because that is absolutely not a primary, like, needed during COVID thing. I can go on birth control, which to my emotional heart feels like I'm accepting that I won't get pregnant, because I'm officially at the age now where it's a little concerning. Which, like, maybe is fine. I don't know.
Right.
I genuinely can't imagine ever trying again. Ever.
Yeah.
And when it, like, comes up at all, like, if for some reason I, like, think about it for a second, it's, like, some of the deepest pain. So I can't imagine that I would have the capacity, the emotional capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it's hard because most women don't talk about it. They don't talk about the hard parts of fertility, the treatments, the hormones, the feelings that go through, all of it that go along with going through those treatments, because you're pumping your body full of more hormones and you're injecting yourself, and you're, like, that roller coaster that you're on with your normal period now becomes like a fucking super coaster or like a rocket ship roller coaster where, like, you're spiking way up and then you're down, and then it's like the hope is there, but then it's, like, cautiously optimistic, and then there's just so much that goes into it. And then, but we don't, and I know there's support systems and there's things, but those are hard to go to sometimes, or it's just, like, to hear those other stories sometimes there's, like, disheartening or too hopeful. So then you're back onto that, like, binary kind of spectrum, and you're like, but I just want to kind of be in this safe bubble of, like, hope, but not telling anyone, because then my value's in it, and then everyone's asking all these questions that I don't always have answers to, and it's just like a mind fuck in every direction.
Felt like I was going insane. And actually, at, like, I think it's probably, like, 2-3 days. If you want to know for sure, I recommend asking my partners. They're more aware. That, like, I am aware that my hormones are causing me to act in ways that seem unreasonable. I'm also aware that I am an incredibly logical, reasonable person. I will agree with you. This is not fair. However, it's not fair for me either. Like, I know, like, it's almost like I'm watching myself. Like, I see that this is a lot.
Right.
And I see that I'm not able to control it. And I see you looking at me like, what the, like, what you just said is crazy. And you know what? Yeah, probably. And I can't help it. I know I sound insane. It feels insane in my body. Like, it's also not fair that, like, my back will hurt so bad I can't stand up.
Right.
I get cramps and I can't talk through them. Like, it hurts that bad. Like, you know, also not fair.
Right.
You don't, I know you shouldn't have to deal with, you know, just someday me, like, blaming you for everything that you had absolutely nothing to deal with. But what is less fair is the fact that, you know, about every 28 days, I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And it brings with it old emotions and processing of infertility because it was too much to process at a time. And so my body tries to do a little bit of that each month,
Right.
you know, like in a way that is great and healthy. And yeah, I just kind of want to sit there and cry for a while. And when you say, like, I don't know what to do, I can't fix it. Yeah, I know. Can you just be like, it's hard?
Right.
Because it is. It's so hard.
Here's some chocolate and a heating pad.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to put a movie on? Like, that's what we want. Or you know,
I want
some
that, yeah,
version
that
of
weird
like,
emotional care that you think doesn't really count.
Right. You're like, just bring me the things that you know I like when I
Right.
feel like this, and that's it. Don't even say anything. Here you
And
go.
absolutely don't suggest that you have an idea I haven't thought of.
Oh, yeah.
Have you tried this? Yeah.
I have. You know what else I tried?
All of
these
it.
things. Like, all of it.
Yeah, you want me to tell you in detail what has been shoved up my fallopian tubes and how it felt?
God, yeah. The first time I had to have like an internal exam, I think I was like 12 or 13. I got my period at 9, like not for TMI, but I was young. Like, it was super young. And then like by 10 or 11, I was in like pain every month, and then it just got worse. But the first time like I really went to the doctors, I had a cyst that exploded. And I'd gone to my first like dance with a boy, like semi-formal dance. And the same night my parents went out to like this event, like party. So they come home at like 2 a.m, half in the bag, and I'm in their bed dying.
Yeah.
Like sweating, crying, in pain. My mother at first was like, I think your appendix is rupturing. And then that's the wrong side. So we get back in the car and we're going to the emergency room. And my dad pulls over to get coffee. And he gets out of the car and I look at my mother and I'm bawling. And I'm like, I'm dying and he needs fucking coffee. And she's like, well, we need some coffee because it's almost 3 a.m. But also he wanted to give me the option, like, or he wanted to give me the chance to ask you if you're pregnant. And I was like, I am 13. I just went to my first dance. Like, no, I'm not pregnant. Like, can we please go to the hospital now?
Does he think this is...
Also, why do we Dad, if I'm pregnant, won't he know?
And also, if this is the way my body is reacting to a pregnancy, the most likely is some sort of fallopian thing that could explode and kill me.
Right.
So, ectopic. That's what it's called. Ectopic pregnancy.
I'm like, but if I'm like, he couldn't wait the 4 blocks for the doctor to ask me. Like, he needed you to now, like, what? When are you going to, if I am, when are you going to tell him before we get to the doctors? Like, I was just like, none of this logic is working. Please get me to the hospital.
I should not have to be the most reasonable person when I'm in this much pain.
Yeah, the 12-year-old who feels like they're dying should not be the one like, can we maybe get coffee at the hospital?
I was also taught growing up that the pain in periods is a result, like that's women's like punishment for sin.
I was too afraid I was just holding my breath, like, please don't tell me you're going to say that.
I actually had a friend once who was like, I'm not going to get an epidural because like pain in childbirth is part of it. And I was like, I saw your husband just walk in from the grocery store. Let me see him grow all his own goddamn food and then I'll believe you. Like, I mean, I guess, never mind, you do you. Yeah.
Your period pain is because you weren't a good enough woman.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
yeah. I also was told about periods the day I got mine.
Oh.
It was pretty traumatic. But I also got the sex talk 2 days before my wedding, so there's not really anything there that's great.
Huh. That's interesting. I think I knew about periods because like my mom has 3 sisters and my dad has 6 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And like I spent a lot of time at both my grandmother's houses.
Mm.
So I feel like I just kind of knew about them. I think we learned about them in school too. I actually have a really good book someone gave me, and it's like, it's really super cheap. It was cheesy when I got it.
Uh-huh.
But it's like a 1950s book on like petting and like like when a girl's body changes and a boy's body changes and like it's super cute, but it like alludes to a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I still have that book. I might have to find it.
Oh my goodness.
But education is important so women know these things.
Yeah, and also, why did we come up with a Viagra pill first?
Well, the lack of research that still doesn't exist around endometriosis.
We just don't know what it is still,
Yeah.
basically.
Like, how is that even possible? Like, they don't know what causes it. They don't know what cures it. Like, they have, like, some maybes and some guesses, but that's it.
So, Greek, I think. There was this belief that when women were experiencing pain in their bodies, it was their uterus moving around their bodies pining for children, which is where the word hysteria comes from.
Oh.
Basically, hysterical comes from the idea that, oh, you want kids and you're being crazy, huh?
It goes back to the fucking Tucker Carlson. Like, women can only be happy if they're fucking moms. Oh, that makes me so...
I like to bring that up anytime anyone brings up that word.
Yeah.
Oh man, she was being hysterical. Oh yeah? I have things to say.
If your uterus was attacking you once a month, you'd be hysterical too.
And also, FYI, women don't just make up pains and complain about it for no reason.
Right. That's
Like,
a man's thing.
Yeah. Let's say they are trying to get attention. Then why aren't you giving them attention?
Again, you bring her chocolate, heating pad, or whatever else makes her happy, and then you walk away. Here's a bunch of presents.
I got you soft things.
I'm sorry you feel like shit. That's all. I'm sorry you feel like shit. Here's some presents.
Yeah.
Call me back when you're ready.
I understand. That doesn't feel like fixing anything.
Guess what? It is fixing it. But that's the only way they can fix it.
Because it's acknowledgement. That's literally all you can do.
Oh, yeah. I wish people would understand that acknowledging something is so much more powerful than fixing it.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Or like, because when you talk to someone and they'll either diminish it, like, oh, well, it's not that bad, or it could be worse. Like, that's not helpful.
Right.
Or they're like, I know how you feel on something they could never know how you feel on. That is not helpful.
Right.
Or my friend went through this. That is not helpful.
Yeah.
Or like at one time I had this thing happen that's almost similar, but it's not.
Right. I passed a kidney stone once. Oh, one? Okay. Cool. Good for you.
Okay. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but great. I'm glad that you accomplished that.
Yeah. I feel like in almost any situation, saying something along the lines of, that sounds like so hard. Like, that sounds like that really sucks. And like, I hear you. I don't fully understand. I kind of understand.
Yeah.
But God, that sounds awful.
Yeah. Someone the other day at work showed us a meme, me and another girl a meme, and it was like the things that you should say to someone when they're having a hard day. And it's like, I hear you. That must be hard. What can I do to help? is there something that makes you feel better? Like, that sucks. That's really hard. It was all these things. And I was like, oh yeah, I say this shit all the time. And he like looked at me and he was like, oh, you do? And then he showed it to another girl and she's like, yeah, this is basically how I talk to my friends when they're having a bad day. And he was like, wait, you guys know about this? And we're like,
you weren't supposed to say calm down.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because never in the history of anyone being upset has calm down helped.
No, it will only have the opposite reaction.
I had a guy the other day, there was a fight at the bar and I was breaking it up and a guy put his hands on me. It was just like a kerfuffle, right? Mm-hmm. And as I'm dealing with this, one of my like regulars who's a friend was like, just calm down, just calm. And he didn't like the tone I was using. And then he's at the end of the bar saying to the other people how my tone was too high pitched. I was screaming at people to stop swearing, to stop fighting. And he's like, her tone, she's too upset. I'm a woman. My tone is going to be different than yours. I also
I don't think men scream. I think scream is a gendered term, yeah.
And then when I yell, I start to lose my voice, so I sound like a squeaky 12-year-old. Because I have like some damage from my neck surgeries that my vocal cords had a lot of shit happen. And I was like so pissed, and I turned to him. I was like, don't ever fucking tell me to calm down. Don't tell me how to act in my own fucking bar. I'm like, you're going to either pick a side or don't get involved. I'm like, but also sitting down here commenting about the way I've handled it and the sound of my voice is not helpful. And he just looked at me and was like, I'm in the middle of like people throwing fists and terrible slurs. And you're going to
tell you to calm down.
Yeah. You're going to tell me, one, to calm down. And two, you're going to critique what's going on as it's happening because you don't like the tone of my voice, you fucking tall ass guy. Like, you're not faking breaking up the fight, but you're going to critique it and talk. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I have gotten I'll put someone in their place then.
Just relax is a super common thing people will say to you when they find out you're trying to have kids, trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Because absolutely, stress, huge factor. But also, relaxing is not it's not like someone says, just relax, and then you're like, oh, okay.
I didn't think of that. Thanks.
That will solve it.
Because the thousands of dollars I'm spending to go through this stuff and all of the time and energy and budgeting and trying to take needles and fuck on a time schedule is so relaxing.
Just, yeah, sure. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. So helpful. I feel like we should talk about something happier.
I know. I was gonna say we feel
like
a
sad way to like wind down.
I know. I was just gonna say, how do we spin this into being something positive? Find the gray. Don't tell people to relax. Well, I mean, you are happy though. You are, with everything that you've been through in this moment.
Yeah.
Things may not be perfect.
No, but I understand that some of these things just sound cheesy, but there's just so many great things about life now. Like, that also I just know will be different at some point.
Yeah, well, you're in a really exciting time because you're finishing up your doctorate. You're months away. Actually, technically right now, weeks away.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I have a countdown. I'm about 50 days away from having to turn it in.
That's amazing. So you're almost done with this huge accomplishment. You have 2 great relationships. You're got a great ass.
Yes.
You have you do have a lot of good things going on. So it is a good time to like be enjoying it and be ready for whatever is going to come next.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm also at this place where I have so much more space for myself than I used to have. And kind of this, I kind of feel like there's like past Hannah and future Hannah. Like something that's super helpful to me is I will kind of write letters to like my past self or to my current self from my future self. Like, and it's so interesting to go back and read them because like I read one not that long ago and I was like, oh, I am actually that version of future Hannah now. I believe those things that I did not believe then. And there's so many things that I still need to learn and grow. But I have also learned so much and grown so much and think, like, I genuinely believe that I can learn and grow in all of those ways that I need to. And I think also I realize that there's not really like an end where I've finally achieved perfect Hannah, perfect humanity. And so growth is going to happen for forever. There's not like something I'm trying to get to. And the things that I'm learning now are things like how to realize that I'm worth more than what I think other people think about me. It's a great thing to learn.
It is a great thing to learn.
Or how to enjoy the current moments, or how to stop and like see and touch all of the flowers when I'm walking around on the island. Like, it's a lot easier than learning some of the things I've had to learn. So,
and I think that's the excitement of like, once you've been through the hard parts and you've been like to your bottom, I'm not saying you might not hit another bottom, but knowing that you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Knowing that like, okay, that shit was hard. And if I had to, I don't want to do it again, but if I had to, I could.
Right. And I don't necessarily always know how, but apparently it will happen.
Yeah. Well, I think if
life
you stick
keeps
with
moving regardless of whether or not I want it to. Time doesn't stop. It's going to keep moving. Who knows what'll happen, but it's just going to keep going, and I'm going to try to do my best.
I like that. And I think that's the powerful, like the power of someone that's been through it. Like, you may not know it's going to come. You may not know how you're going to get through it, but you know that you will.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most valuable lesson that we can learn.
That and drugs are great. Sorry,
That
it was better if we ended on your thing.
No. Oh, no, I fully support all plant medicine.
Yes.
The other drugs, like, I got some feelings on. All plant medicine, I am fully embracing.
Yeah, when I say drugs, I did not mean the ones prescribed by doctors. I meant the ones prescribed by the earth.
Yes. All right, let's end it there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you all out there, and go find some joy today. Bye.